Hello students, we are continuing with structure of atom. This is the third lecture. We have done Rutherford's atomic structure and know that there are certain limitations on the model of Rutherford, and limitations we had also discussed that Rutherford could not explain the stability of explain the stability of atom. And later on, student of Rutherford, Neil Bohr, in 1913, he has given a model known as Bohr model of atomic structure, and he could explain the stability of atom. We know that atoms are stable. That's why we have all the matter around us. We know that they are not unstable. Rutherford also knew that atoms are stable and not unstable, but he couldn't explain the stability of atom. But Neil Bohr, student of Rutherford, he gave his atomic model which could explain the stability of atom. And he was a Danish scientist, student of Rutherford, and he achieved Nobel Prize for his model on atom. So, his few postulates on the model of atom are, I will write in quite brief, that atoms, they are made up of proton, neutron and electrons. Protons have positive charge, neutron no charge, and electrons are having negative charge. Second, proton and neutron, they are present in the center in the form of a very small nucleus. And these things are also given by Rutherford. But you can ask, this is 1913. This neutron, it is discovered in 1932 by Chadwick. So, how this neutron is with this model of Bohr's model. So, the original Bohr's model, it does not has nucleus as a part of it because it is in 1913. Chadwick, neutron is discovered by Chadwick in 1932. Later on, when this model was modified, neutron is added to this model. Now we can ask how Chadwick discovered this neutron. When he was doing experiments, he saw that the mass of atom is not according to the mass of proton. Before Neil Bohr or at the time of Rutherford, it was seen that the nucleus is present in the center. It is having proton and electrons. They are moving around the proton. So protons are positively charged and they are heavy particles and they have all the mass of the atom in the form of a nucleus in the center of the atom in a form of very small, dense, tiny nucleus. And these have negligible mass. But when the atomic mass is seen by Chadwick, he saw that only protons, they are not responsible for whole of the mass of the atoms. Atoms are quite heavy than that of proton. So he discovered that there should be some other particles also which are present in the nucleus and which are having equal mass as of proton. Now we know that the mass of neutron and mass of proton is quite approximately same, and the total mass of the atom is P plus m. That is the total mass of proton and neutron forms the mass of atom. So, but Chadwick know that proton are positively charged, electrons are negatively charged, and number of proton is equal to number of electron also, and atom is a neutral atom. So he concluded that these neutrons, they have no charge. That's why the name neutron. And 1932 Chadwick first of all suggested that neutrons are present with protons in the nucleus of atoms. So this is how this neutron is included in the model of Bohr. So atoms have proton, neutron, electron, proton and neutron present in the center in nucleus. Third is electrons, they revolve around nucleus. Now the most important point for which he has given Nobel Prize, and this model of Niels Bohr is most popular till today. It is commonly accepted as the model of atom, and till today Bohr model is popularly accepted. And what is the important point? He said that these electrons, they revolve around the nucleus in definite energy shells or energy levels. What does it mean? That the electrons which revolve around the this nucleus, they revolve in definite energy shells or energy levels, and these are also known as discrete orbits. So I should draw this here. What is this? Discrete orbits or energy shells. What Bohr pointed out, that if this is nucleus having positive protons and neutrons also, and these are shells or orbits in which electrons are moving. So these orbits, they have fixed energy levels, and these electrons, they revolve in these fixed energy level shells. We call them shells or energy levels or orbits, and these are discrete orbit. It means in between these two orbits no electron is there. They move in their fixed orbit. Now the fifth point will be the shell which is near to the nucleus. It is having lowest energy. And farther, which is the outer or outside shell, it is having highest energy. And he has given names to these shells. Starting from here, they are given the name, these integers 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 likewise. And they are also known as K, L, M, N shell. Either we can say K, L, M, N shells, or we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shell number. This is the shell number starting from the inner side near the nucleus. So this is how Bohr formed his model. So this is one thing. This is the most important thing, that electrons, they revolve in definite energy levels or discrete orbits. When they revolve in discrete orbits, they do not lose energy. So the electron will not collide with nucleus and it will be stable. So how the electrons go from one shell to other? This is the higher energy level. Suppose one electron goes to the lower energy level. Suppose this electron goes to the lower energy level from this level. Then what will happen? It will emit some energy and come to a lower energy state. If the electron comes from here to here to a higher energy level, from lower to higher energy level, then it will absorb some energy and jump from this level to this level. So either it can emit energy if we come to the down level, or it may absorb energy if it is going to a higher level. So this is the atomic model of Bohr. Very important model. And later he also show that how many electrons are present in each level or each orbit. And he has given a rule known as Bohr-Bury rule for the number of electrons in each level. So now we will learn the Bohr-Bury rule. What is that rule? Bohr-Bury. Bury is the other scientist. Bohr-Bury rule, and this rule is for filling the electrons in different orbits, and it is dependent on a formula known as 2n square. N is the number of orbit. Number means orbit number 1, orbit number 2, orbit number 3 and orbit number 4 likewise. So n is the number of orbit. If we want to know the number of electron in first orbit, so I will write first orbit. So how we will calculate? By this formula, 2 into number of first orbit is 1 square, so it will be 2 electrons. That is, in first orbit not more than 2 electrons can be accommodated. Now in second orbit, how many can be possible? 2, here 2 into what is the n? N is 2 square, so it will be 8 electrons. So in the second orbit, maximum 8 can be there. In first, maximum 2 can be there. Now suppose likewise in third, what it will be? 2 into third is 3 square, it means 18 electrons. In the third orbit, not more than 18 electrons can be accommodated. Likewise, it goes on multiplying. So this is one rule, that is the number of electrons are 2, 8, 18, and further like this. One more rule is there with this, and that rule is, that point is, that is, the second is in the last orbit. Last orbit means which is the external most orbit. In the last orbit, not more than 8 electrons can be there. So suppose this is this is known as electronic configuration. Electronic configuration means how the electrons are present in different orbits, and it is also known as EC, electronic configuration. So suppose this is the electronic configuration, suppose it should have 18, but if it is the last orbit, then it cannot have more than 8 electrons in the last orbit. This is one of the points. And the third is electrons fill in different orbits stepwise. What does it mean? Unless the previous shell is filled, no electron can go to next shell. Suppose it is the maximum capacity of second is 8. So first 8 should be filled, not like 7 is here and 1 goes to the third shell. No, it cannot be. This is the stepwise filling. First, the shell should be filled completely according to its capacity, and then the electron go to the next shell. This is the third point. There are some exceptions to these rules when we go for higher elements, but that we will study in our higher classes. So for you, these three rules are important. In the first shell 2, in the second shell 8, in third shell 18. If it is last shell, it should not be more than 8. So this is how these electrons are filled in different energy shells. Now, next is about the valency of elements. Valency we have studied somewhat in the first chapter also. Atoms and molecules, we will again see something about valency. What is valency of atoms? Valency of atoms. So if we go by definition, valency is a single word or two words combining capacity of atom. What is valency? Combining capacity of the atom of that element. Suppose this is the atom of sodium, so we can say the combining capacity of the valency of sodium is so much. So valency, two words only, combining capacity. Combining capacity of the atom is known as valency. This is one thing. Now there is another term known as valence electrons. Now what are these valence electrons? Suppose I am making EC or electronic configuration of sodium. Sodium has, EC is formed only of electrons, and number of electrons is equal to number of protons, and number of protons are the atomic number of that element. Are you following? The atomic number of an element is the number of its proton. Mass is proton plus neutron, but only the atomic number of an element is the number of its protons. And electrons are equal to the number of protons because atom is a neutral body. So we should know the atomic number of any element to draw the electronic configuration. So if you want to know the electronic configuration of sodium, Na is the symbol and the atomic number of sodium is 11. What does it mean? That is 11 protons are present and 11 electrons are present, and we are not concerned with the neutrons at this level or for drawing EC. So I am drawing EC. This is the nucleus having 11 protons. Even in EC we don't draw protons. We can just write positive charge, and as 11 is present, 11 is the number, so in the first we will draw the shells. In the first shell, maximum 2 electrons will be there. These are electrons. These dots show the electrons. So how many left? 9 left. So in the second, 8 can be there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can draw any way. So 8 plus 2, 10 are there. In the second shell, not more than 8 can be accommodated. So it needs a third shell where a lone single electron will be there. So what is this? This is EC of sodium. Here it is written, or we can also write in short 2, 8, 1. This is also, it can be written like this also, EC of sodium 2, also we should write EC of sodium is 2, 8, 1. What does it mean? 2 in the first shell, 8 in the second shell, and 1 in the third shell. So this is how ECs are formed. We are talking about valence electron. What are valence electron? The electron present in the outermost shell. Here, this is the outermost shell. So the electrons present in the outermost shell are known as valence electrons. So how many valence electrons sodium has? It has only one valence electron. This is one thing. Suppose I draw EC of chlorine. Chlorine has 17. The atomic number of chlorine is 17. So this is the nucleus, this is proton, 2 here, 8 here, 4, 6, 8. It means 10. And how many left? 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This, no need of this. So only 3 shells are needed. And out of 7 we can write 2, 8, 7. So 17 is the atomic number of chlorine, and these 17 electrons, they are distributed 2, 8 and 7. So the valence electrons of chlorine are 7. The valence electron of sodium is 1. We can write valence electron. Valence electron of sodium is 1 and of chlorine are 7. These valence electrons show the combining capacity or valency of any element. But there are different methods. There are 2 methods to calculate the valency of different elements. We will just see how. First of all, there are 2 rules known as octet rule and duplet rule. Octet rule and second is duplet rule. Octet means 8, duplet means 2. So each element of the periodic table, there are 118 elements are there. All elements, they want to be stable, and for stability they want in their valence shell 8 electrons should be there. If there are 8 electrons, they need not to react with other elements or the atoms of their own. So they want stability and want 8 electrons in the outermost shell. And if less are there, then they want 2. The elements which are having 1, 2, then or 3, they want 2 in their 1 or 2, they want 2 in their valence shell. So for octet rule, we know some elements which have 8 in their outermost orbit, and they are neon, argon, krypton. So these neon, argon, krypton and xenon, radon are the inert gases. These are known as inert gases or noble gases. For neon, the EC is 2, 8. For argon, it is 288. What does it mean? in the last shell only 8 electrons are present, so they have this stable structure having 8 in the outermost. They need not to react with other elements. That's why they are inert or noble gases. They have stable configuration. For duplet, we can see helium. Helium is also inert gas and its electronic configuration is 2, having a single shell and having 2. And it is satisfied with these 2 electrons under duplet rule. So this is how elements want 2 or 8 for their stability. Now, which don't have 8 in their outermost shell, they want to have 8 by hook or by crook. Anyway, they want we should have 8 in our last shell. So they can gain electron. They do it in 3 ways. Who? These atoms. They can gain electrons from the other atoms or the other elements. They can lose electrons to the other atoms, or they can share electrons with the other atoms. So in this way, they want to attain octet. So we will see some examples of gaining, losing or sharing of electrons. Normally, what happens if the element is a metal? It loses electron. Elements which are metals, they lose electrons. Elements which are non-metal, they gain electron. And sharing is done by mostly carbon, silicon, which have 4 electrons in their outermost orbit. We will see all one by one. So first we see loss of electrons. This is sodium. Sodium is a metal. So it has 1 electron in outermost orbit. If it loses this electron, then in the next orbit 8 are there and it will have a stable configuration. This last shell will be emitted. This will be destroyed. 1 will go away and the 8 it will be there. So sodium loses this electron to other element and now it has a stable configuration. So its valency is 1. Valency is the number of electrons in the last shell. So the sodium has valency 1. This is chlorine we have done. It has in the last shell 7 electrons. Valence electrons are 7. So does it has the valency 7? No. Chlorine is a non-metal. So how we calculate the valency of non-metals? We subtract this 7 from 8 and now 1. So if chlorine, it gains 1 electron from any other, it will have 8 and then it will have a stable configuration, and when 8 is met to chlorine, it is stable and the valency is the number of gained electron. So what we can say, the combining capacity or this valency, number of electrons which are gained or which are lost or which are shared, it is valency. It gained 1 electron, so its valency is 1, and we calculate by dividing from 8. Here right like this, only 1 is the valency because the lost electron is 1. Here the gained electron is 1, and when electrons are gained, they have to be subtracted from 8. And what about this sharing? Carbon. Carbon is, this is the EC of carbon. This is the nucleus, 2 here and 4 here. So 6, atomic number is 6 of carbon. So 2 in the first shell, remaining are 4 in the last shell, it can have 4 more for stable, for forming octet, or it may lose these 4 to form a duplet. But when 4 are there, it is not easy to lose 4, not easy to have 4, because lot of energy is required. So what have to do? This carbon, it shares its electrons with other, and in this sharing, the both atoms, they thought it is their electron. Like I saw you how they share, and when sharing or this is done, only the valence shell they are drawn. So carbon, I am drawing here carbon. This is the carbon atom, and these 4 atoms, they are of hydrogen. In the last shell, hydrogen has only 1, and if it has 1 more, then it will be stable under the duplet rule. So in the carbon, carbon has 4 in the outermost. So these are atoms of electrons of carbon, 4, and hydrogen has only 1. So this cross shows of hydrogen. This is C. So what is this? This is the structure of methane, CH4. Methane is a gas organic compound. So C, carbon has 4. It wants 8. So by sharing 4 of hydrogen, it has 8 in the outermost, 2, 4, 6, 8. Now the carbon is satisfied with 8 electrons, and it is thinking all of them are mine. Hydrogen, it is having only 1, and if it gets 1 more, it will be satisfied by duplet rule. So this hydrogen thinks this is mine and I am having now 2. This is also having 2, this is also having 2, this is also having 2. So all the hydrogens are satisfied, as well as this carbon is also satisfied, because carbon thinks all the 4 hydrogen are mine, because I am sharing mine with hydrogen. So carbon is having 8, hydrogens are having 2 each. So this is how electron share with other elements. This is how they gain electron. This is how they lose electron. So if lost is there, 8 may be the final position. If 1 is achieved, 8 may be the final position. And if once the stable condition is achieved, now the atom is stable, and number, remember, number of electrons gained or lost or shared is the valency of that atom. This is about valency. So you draw electronic configuration of first 20 elements in your notebooks like this. And the atomic number of first 20 element is in a serial order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 up to 20. So you can know the atomic number starting from hydrogen up to the calcium.